Start with the terminological concept first, and then go to some historical development, and then later on, Dr. Amin will situate how the theory of argumentation applied in modern context. So basically, when I wrote an article published in Islam and Muslim Christian Relations, published by Taylor Francis, entitled Arab-Islamic Greek Dialectics, Revisiting the Origin and the Development of Jadal. The word Jadal, or Mujadala, if you memorize the Al-Quran, there are many, these terms is quite frequently mentioned in the Quran as well. But sometimes it is mentioned pejoratively in a negative sense, but there are some indication that this term also used in a positive sense. For example, only so mujadalah billatihi ahsan, in the hasan way, in a good way. But people were arguing whether the art of jadal, the art of mujadala, the art of argumentation and debate in Islamic tradition is originally from the Islamic tradition, Arab Islamic tradition, or it is imported from the Greek dialectical traditions. So the terms used interchangeably. There are many terms that may be being used, for example, the art of khilaf, for example, the disagreement, the fit of the art, or the rules of disagreement, for example, is being used in classical Islamic scholarship. There is also the word jadal. There is also the word bahth or munazara. But in general, Muslim scholars tend to agree that these terms are used interchangeably. You can say khilaf, munazara, or jadal. But prior to the art or the science of jadal or munazara or ikhtilaf, there is also the science is not there, but the practice of having debate is already there. For example, the tradition in the pre-Islamic tradition, there's there is a tradition called al-hijab. Al-hijab means kind of exchanging points, sometimes lampooning or satiring, having a critics to the other party, and the other party will reply that critique through poetry as well. That's the tradition of hijab. There's also tradition of an-naqa'ir wal-mada'ih, for example, in pre-Islamic tradition. But later on, in the Quran, there is also very many examples of having debate between two parties recorded in the Quran as well. So some argue this is Arab Islamic traditions. But when, let's see, yeah, this scholar is kind of, for example, Muhammad al-Zahra, Muhammad ibn.
Sorry, Pak Syifa, to interrupt. Because we have many audiences in Zoom, it's better for you to log in, to join in, and then okay, the participant in Zoom can see your screen as well.
Okay. Can you join? Yeah. Maybe Mas Evan can join Zoom and then share my screen.
Okay,
Zoom
from there. Yeah,
from there.
Sure.
So yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is that there are some scholars argue that this is intrinsically and best essentially Islamic, coming from Arabic tradition, and there are other people who said no. This kind of science, this kind of art of dialectics, of having debate between two parties, and basically imported from the Greek or Stoic tradition even. Joseph van Es, for example, saying the terms being used in Islamic scholarship, qila, qal, qultu, things like that, it is basically, there are some precedents from Stoic literature that's being translated into Islamic. Islamic scholarship tradition. For example, after the translation of Greek scholarship in the time of Abbasid, the work of philosophical instructions of many Aristotelian dialectic has been translated into Arabic. Then there are certain kind of development in Islamic journal. If the previous dialectical tradition in Islam basically initially there is no structure and systematization, then after the period of translation movement during the Abbasid period, this kind of dialectical practices turned into more systematic and structured way of having dialectic argumentation. For example, before having a debate, they have to have an agreement from which point of debate that we are starting, which is called thesis. Harus ada poin yang kita sama-sama sepakati. Apa? What is the issue, and what is what is the issue, and how we conduct this kind of debate. The issue, for example, later we can discuss about some of the examples. But basically, we have to have an agreement. What is the epistemological foundation for our debate, and what is the issue being debated? What I'm saying about the epistemological ground for the debate, for example, in Islamic tradition, we all agree that Quran Hadith is the basic epistemological source in Islamic scholarship, and then we develop debate on issues referring to those epistemological sources. After this encounter with a Greek dialectical tradition, so they, or the Muslim scholarship, try to structure and systematize how to formulate the debate, the questions, for example, about what is your opinion and what is the proof of your opinion, what is the refutation against the proof that of your opinion that you are presenting. So this kind of systematization start to emerge, start to appear in Islamic legal scholarship, or theological scholarship as well. But there are modifications. If, for example, in Aristotelian or Greek dialectical tradition, the questions is only what we call restrictive questions. Restrictive question means that you are only allowed to use whether using yes or no questions to prove the inconsistency of your opponents. But in Islamic legal and theological scholarship, this kind of question is not only restrictive, but open question as well. Not only do you agree with this, or do you know about this? Do you have the position? Is this your opinion? Is this your position? Things like that. But asking open question like, why do you argue this question? Where is your proof for that? Why do you interpret that way? So there is modification of questions. The way of questioning the opponents is pretty different from Greek dialectical tradition. The Muslim philosophers, they criticize this kind of dialectical question. That is the violation. Itu adalah pelanggaran, itu adalah apa itu namanya? Pengingkaran atau modifikasi itu adalah satu kesalahan lah, gitu, dalam memformulasikan pertanyaan-pertanyaan debat di dalam debat. But the Muslim theologians and fuqaha and the jurists, no, this is our way of having debate that is pretty different from the philosophical dialectic. But in the end, these dialectical treatises from Greek influence Muslim scholarship in theology. For example, we are accustomed to see or to read the titles, for example, wrong or the refutation against certain arguments. Imam Shafi'i wrote the Khilaf traditions, and then later on there are some Shafi'ite scholars also write Al-Ma'una fil Jadal, Al-Kafiyah fil Jadal. There are many literatures on Bahth, on Jadal, and Munawwarah as well. But yeah, the term in the initial development, the term that's quite frequently used is the literature of Khilaf or Ikhtilaf literature. But then Jadal literature. There is one scholar whose name is Larry B. Miller. He mentioned that the term Bahth is used in the sense of Munawwarah and Jadal after during the 12th century, during the Ghazali period, after the encounter with Aristotelian logic, not dialectical tradition, but the logic of Aristotle is being introduced in Muslim world. For example, the introduction of Mantiq, the introduction of Aristotelian logical traditions. Then the term Bahth is used as a substitute or as an exchange for the term Munawwarah, the term Mujadalah or Ikhtilaf. So this is kind of the development of the science of Jadal, the science of argumentation and argumentation and debate in Islamic traditions. Later we can go further. But what is the purpose? How can we differentiate between the Jadal or the argumentation that are considered bad? They are considered as blameworthy, madmoom, al-Jadal al-madmoom, blameworthy, and al-Jadal or the Munawwarah or al-Mujadalah that considered as praiseworthy, al-Mahmud, al-Hasan, the good Jadal. So here. So basically like this. Aristotle differentiated the science of dialectics, of having debate, in 4 categories. First called eristic dialectic. The second one is dialectical disputation. The third one is called didactic dialectic. And the fourth one is eristic dialectic. In another article, I will argue that the two forms of dialectics is similar to what's so-called blameworthy Jadal. The Jadal that is considered bad, because the purpose for having argumentation is just to prove the other party as wrong, the other party is weak, is to defeat the other party. So the purpose of defeating the opponent is considered bad, to humiliate or to prove that his argument is inferior is considered bad. Whether this is called eristic or dialectical disputations. But the other part of dialectic is called peiristic dialectic. And peiristic dialectic, the purpose is to examine the opponent's argumentations, whether the argument is right or wrong, to prove if in his reasoning there's any inconsistency, for example. This is the purpose of peiristic dialectic. So basically, what's so-called as Jadal al-Mahmud or Jadal al-Hasan, the praiseworthy Jadal, is this one. Basically, to attain to the truth, to seek for the truth. If the disputation, argumentation is aiming to arrive at the truth, this is considered Jadal al-Hasan, the good Jadal. So, but people will argue, what do you mean by the truth here? So, basically, in logic or in dialectic, especially in Islamic traditions, the truth can be derived from sources that the Muslims are all agree. The Quran, the Hadith, the Ijma, the reasoning based on qiyas, on masalih wa salaf, and other forms of reasoning. Let me show you. There's a hierarchy, it's very small. There's a hierarchy of epistemological sources in Islamic traditions. So if we derive knowledge from the nusus of the Quran, the univocal text of the Quranic verses that has only one meaning, that is not interpretable, it's open only one meaning, not two or more meanings, it's called epistemological truth. You can derive the knowledge from what's called qat'iyat, from the verses that are conclusive, that are qat'i. So, as if your knowledge that you derive from the Quranic sources or from the Hadith mutawatir, reflecting the true intention, the true will of God. But if your knowledge, of our knowledge, is derived from different kind of reasoning in Islamic traditions, or from the interpretable, from equivocal text of the Quran, our knowledge falls under the category of probability. Right? From the first one, the quality of the truth is epistemological truth. You have certainty, you have yaqeen. This is reflecting the true will of God. But if we have sources, if we rely on sources that are probable in quality, dhunun, not dhunat, so our conviction regarding the truth of our knowledge is probable. So, in dialectical setting, through dialectical setting, through munawara, through mujadala, this kind of probable knowledge, the dhunun, al-mawdhunat, if our argumentation is more compelling than other opinion, other reasoning, then our argumentation or our knowledge regarding certain issue increase from the level of probability to the level of certainty, to the level of yaqeen. This is also reflecting the truth of the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, munadara, mujadala, or al-bahth will strengthen the quality of knowledge of the truth that we derive from our reasoning. Jadi, mujadalah, munadharah ini membantu membuat keyakinan kita lebih kuat terhadap kebenaran yang akan kita peroleh. Kalau kualitas dari kias, dari interpretasi terhadap teks itu hanya di level dhon biasanya, melalui munadharah, kalau kita berargumentasi dengan seseorang, kita bisa membuktikan bahwa argumentasi seseorang itu punya kelemahan dan argumentasi kita lebih kuat, maka levelnya not only dhon, but ghalabatul dhon, preponderance of conviction, more compelling argument. Dan ini levelnya ghalabatul dhon, dan ghalabatul dhon itu sudah mencapai derajat yakin di dalam epistemologi pengetahuan Islam. Kalau dhon saja itu belum sampai pada yakin. Nah, this is the benefit of having munadharah, the benefit of having mujadalah, that aiming at obtaining the truth in terms of psychological truth yang melalui ini tadi, through the practice, through the tradition of munadharah, mujadalah, and bahth. So I'll stop there, and would like to hear as well what Dr. Rahmi of how to situate this kind of practice. I'm more toward classical, historical perspective here, and Dr. Rahmi will explain this how this situate, how this still applied and suitable for our contemporary world.